Hey, Woody, you already had divorce papers ready.
How's that? I scared you, didn't I? Because I'm ready for this anytime, so you better cool down and reflect on what you just said.
With that, my husband Lance got up and went into his room. My name is Alice, a 2008-year-old office worker. I got married a year ago to a man named Lance. We met at a blind date, and he made his move on me, and we started dating. After dating for a year and a half, we got married. I think it was a little too soon to get married, but I had vaguely thought that I wanted to get married and have children by the time I entered my 30s, so I accepted his marriage proposal. But I realized after that I should have been very careful about these things. The first thing that surprised me was that Lance had changed his job as soon as we got married. I was taken aback when Lance said, "I'm changing jobs." When I asked him about it, he said, "Because I not able to show my full strength there." I thought to myself, what the heck? But he said he had already submitted his resignation letter to the company and was planning to leave at the end of the month. It seems that he was able to change to the job he wanted, but the salary was lower than the one he had at his previous company. I thought at the time that it was okay because I was But the next thing that surprised me was that Lance kept asking me to quit my job. I would have been fine with quitting my job if Lance's income was enough to cover the cost of living for two adults. If I quit my job now, we wouldn't be able to save any money, and we would be in a really tight spot after paying expenses such as rent and car inspections. To conclude, we won't be able to make it with Lance's salary alone. So I told Lance, "I will not quit my job until your salary goes up." Lance seems to agree, but he keeps on asking me to quit job periodically. And every time I answer him with the same response. And now we've been married for a year and Lance's salary still hasn't gone up. Lance keeps insisting and asking, "When are you going to quit?" I'm really tempted to say, no, sarcastically and tell him I'm only kidding and I can't quit yet. If he wants me to quit so badly, all he has to do is earn more money. I feel like he should concentrate on his own work before persistently asking me to quit. I once wondered why Lance wants me to quit my job, and I finally came up with an answer. It seems that Lance wants me to take care of my mother-in-law, Sarah.
I just want to make things easier for you, Mom.
X would say something like that to Sarah every time we went over to my parents-in-law's house. She would say, "Thank you, Lance. That's very kind of you." Lance would then say, "But we're both working." And he would glance at me. In other words, he was silently pressuring me to quit my job. He says his mother needs to be taken care of, but it's not like Sarah was ill or anything. Instead, she's in a good health and was pretty active. She actually earns enough money from her part-time job to enjoy her hobbies and go out with her friends, living a very happy life. So, to say the least, she doesn't really need my help. If I were Sarah, I would be depressed that I needed to be taken care of, even when I'm pretty healthy. But Lance still wants me to take care of Sarah.
Oh, if only one of us were home during the day, we could go check on Mom every day.
Lance blurts out his thoughts. Apparently, he wants me to go over to my parents-in-law's house every day. Although it was tiresome to hear this, I continued to ask my husband,
Sarah's still in perfect health, and what in the world do you even want me to do?
Why, there are 20 of things that you can do. You could do the housework for her or go on errands, and there are plenty of things to do to help her.
But with Sarah's part-time job and socializing with her friends, it means that she won't be at home a lot during the day, right?
And if Sarah wasn't home, you could still do the housework, couldn't you? Even if mom wasn't home, you could still do the housework, couldn't you?
Huh, what the hell is he saying? Then I would just be a housekeeper for her. Basically, as Sayadi hopes, just wants to look good in whatever he does, and especially look good in front of his parents. As if he wants to take care of his parents that badly, he should go do the housework himself. He didn't have any time for Lance's petty pride, so of course I didn't quit my job and I didn't bother to visit my parents-in-law on my days off. But I did go to my parents-in-law's house to visit them during holidays like New Year's holidays. But come to think of it, Lance often gave me orders when we visited my parents-in-law's house together. He would tell me to clean up, help Mom see if there's anything that's needed from the store, and so on. But I would never do anything on my own. When I would say, "About going to the store, don't you know more about this area than I do?" he says, "There would be no point if I do it." I don't understand your point. Anyways, it seems like he just wants to make his own wife obey him and feel good about how he's taking care of his parents, doesn't he? That's how I started to see Lance gradually. Is it because he just wants to look good rather than actually caring about me? When I boldly asked him, "Why don't you try to help or quit your job to take care of your own mother?" he looked extremely uncomfortable and had a disgusted look on his face.
It's not something I'm supposed to do. I'm giving you these instructions so my mom will think that you're a considerate, useful wife. I hope you realize how kind I am to you.
So in other words, he wants to push all the troublesome stuff onto his own wife and show off how good he is, as if he did something amazing. Well, I am not your servant slave or anything else. Nor do I deserve to be abused or belittled in front of my parents-in-law. If Lance keeps on making unreasonable demands to me, I will definitely not be silent but go against him. But Lance kept on being the same and never changed his stance. He would ask, "When are you going to quit your job?" And whenever we visited my parents-in-law's house, he ordered me to do all kinds of things, just as he had done before. He asked, "When are you going to quit your job?" And whenever we visited my parents-in-law's house, he ordered me to do all kinds of things, just as he had done before. I had reached the end of my patience, so I decided to talk it over with my husband.
What do you mean, talk?
I thought we should talk about our future.
Yeah? So what are you even trying to say?
I'm honestly fed up. I'm fed up with how you keep asking me when I'm gonna quit my job and trying to get me to take care of Sarah.
How are you fed up with that? Ozai's you my wife, and you're supposed to take care of the husband's parents. And
Don't you think that it's a big burden for me? Isn't it your responsibility as the biological child to help with the housework and take care of your own parents in the first place?
no way. It's the wife's duty to do so? Are you that kind of person who doesn't care about your family? I'm really disappointed that you would say such a thing.
Then let me ask you this. How have you been taking care of my parents? So if I asked you to take care of my own parents, would you do it?
Then Lance looks at me blankly.
What are you saying? Why should a husband take care of his wife's parents?
Does that mean you aren't and won't take care of my parents?
The husband's parents and wife's parents are totally different in the first place.
What difference does it make? I can't understand.
Ugh. I didn't know that you were this clueless. It's like I'm talking to my old boss or something.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying that the first priority should be the husband's parents. The wife's parents should be taken care of by you, the wife.
It's what the OT teen. So Lance means that for him, the only family he prioritizes is his own blood-related family.
I'm so disgusted by you. I'm not going to your parents' house, anymore.
Enough is enough.
I'm the one who wants you to cut the crap.
No way. How dare you talk back like that? Also, my mom's right.
Duh.
Your mom was saying things about you. She said that you're a bad-behaved wife. That's why she gave him this.
Looks at you with that. My husband took out a piece of paper from his bag. It was divorce papers.
What, you already had the divorce papers ready?
I was simply surprised, but for some reason, my husband looked proud of himself.
I scared you, didn't I? Because I'm ready for this at any time, so you better cool down and reflect about what you just said.
At that, my husband, Lance, got up and went into his room. No way! Why is Lance so selfish? And that triumphant look on his face. I'm sure that the divorce papers are used as a threat in an attempt to get me to obey and do as he says. Like the pastures, the fact that Sarah had prepared the divorce papers made me think so even more. Looks Lance is a mama's boy, considering what he has been doing, so he wants to do as what Sarah says and at the same time boss me around. You've got to be kidding me. I won't let Lance do whatever he wants. I mean, why can't he realize that our marriage life is over when he does this kind of thing already? His lack of common sense also makes me irritated even more. Lance had already filled out the divorce papers and handed them to me. The witness column was filled with the names of Sarah and his friends. So this means that I could sign and file the divorce papers anytime I wanted to. The transitive jaxed. The next day after Lance left for work, I filled out the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office. Just in case, I also filed a notice of non-acceptance of the marriage certificate. I called my parents and explained the situation to them, because I was sure that Lance, who had given me the divorce papers as a threat, would say that he would file the marriage certificate on his phone if he heard that I had filed the divorce papers. My parents were surprised that I had already filed the divorce papers, but were outraged about Lance's attitude and behavior. They then offered to help me move my stuff anytime. I took a paid leave and had my parents come over and move all my stuff out to my parents' house while Lance was gone. Then I decided to stay at my parents' house for a while. Just for the first time in a long time, I felt comfortable spending time at my parents' house. Thinking back, Lance didn't do any housework at all. Esther is the one cooking dinner after a busy day of work, and did all the cleaning and laundry on my days off. On top of that, He wanted me to take care of my in-laws, which was impossible.
That night, I received a phone call from Lance, who must have just come back home from work. And
Hello?
hey, where are you right now?
I'm at my parents' house.
Oh, why the hell would you go back to your parents' house without my permission? And there's none of your stuff here, you know. Don't tell me that you're staying the night over.
I almost laughed out loud. How could he think that I was staying over when I had taken most of my personal belongings with me? He must really be a selfish person to even think that way. I moved out of the house. I'm not going back to your house.
Punky, what the hell are you talking about? I'm back here, make me some food.
Please prepare it on your own.
I said that and hung up the phone. I can't even talk to him about how I filed for the divorce if he's going to be like this, so I'll just wait for Lance to come here. I thought to myself and blocked his number from my phone. For a week later, Lance finally got impatient and came over to my parents' house with his parents. But he didn't come alone. He had brought his parents with him. All three of them had a grim look. I led the in-laws into the living room, and we faced each other as 3 versus 3.
How could you be like this? I believe you'd be gone for such a long period of time without any of my permission.
Well, that's because you try to use me as if I was your housekeeper, alright? You just force me to take care of things that you don't want to do, don't you?
All I asked you to do was to take care of my family.
My in-laws looked grim as ever. Sarah was glaring at me.
Understand, don't you dare say things like that. You always say it in a way that's always convenient for you. You just, force me to take care of things that you don't want to do, don't you?
I've told you many times that's not what I mean. I've told you many times that's not what I mean.
What kind of wife are you when Lance is doing so much for you?
Seeing Sarah saying bad things about me, my father was trembling. My father would lose his temper if I didn't say something before he could lose his temper. I once again said what Lance had said to me.
Lance has told me to stop working and help Sarah. He said it was my duty as his wife to do so. But for my family, he pushed me to take care of them on my own. In the end, Lance just wants me to obey him and use me to take care of his own parents, taking credit for it. That's why he's been saying things like how his parents are more important or that they are a priority over my parents. How but has Lance ever said such things like that in front of you?
Sarah was still glaring at me, but my father-in-law, Robert, was looking at Lance with a clueless look. Apparently, Robert had not heard this story. Let's just go ahead and spill the tea.
And that what I couldn't really believe was that Lance had suddenly brought up the divorce papers and told me that I was Sarah's idea.
Hey, did you suggest that to Lance?
Oh no, that's because Alice has an attitude, you know?
Besides, Lance, did you also say something like how Alice's parents are not the priority?
Well, that's because it's all normal for your own parents to be more important.
Don't be ridiculous. I came to support you because I heard that you were put through unreasonable hardships, but as far as I'm concerned, you're the one at fault. Don't be a coward and try to eat us. Be your pants part to get what you want.
Lance completely shrinks down. Robert did an amazing job. He said everything that I wanted to say to Lance, and Robert apologized to us, to Alice and to Alice's parents. I am truly sorry for the trouble my stupid son has caused you.
through Alice and to Alice's parents, I am truly sorry for the trouble my stupid son has caused you. I will strictly lecture them. So, Alice, you're not at fault at all, so please look up.
Andrew, thank you for your kind words. I still have one thing left to say. When I said that, Lance asked, "What do you mean?" to me. But the divorce papers that you gave me, I've already filed them. We're not a married couple anymore.
What?
No.
Lance and Sarah both turned pale.
Why did you do that without any permission?
You told me that you could file them anytime you wanted to. Besides, you already filled out your part of the form and even had Sarah sign in the witness box for you.
Oh, that was to just make you apologize.
For what?
No.
Lance glanced at Robert. Robert is fuming with anger.
You said that you used it to threaten me.
I said these final words on behalf of Lance. I'm sorry for everything. Then, Robert...
Lance, how can you be that way? You're so stupid.
Robert hits Lance right on his cheek. Sarah is shaken up at what was going on.
I sincerely apologize that you had to see that. You're right for divorcing this idiot. I'm truly sorry on behalf of Lance for destroying your marital history. Saying that, Robert grabbed Lance by the neck and said, "You both better apologize too." And made Lance and Sarah apologize as... Go out.
Then he left the house with them. I have to thank Robert later on. It definitely saved my parents from losing their temper. And Robert made sure that all of Lance's property went to me in exchange for no alimony. Since Lance could not go against Robert, I was entitled to all of our savings and other assets from our marriage. Well, I had a higher income than him, though, and I was the one who was running the household, so I had the right to have them. Well, I had a higher income than him, though, and I was the one running the household, so I had the right to have them. Still, I can only thank Robert for making sure that the entire amount, which would have been split unfairly, went all to me. And I heard that Robert was so disgusted with Sarah at what had happened, so he divorced her. And the other day, I happened to meet a colleague from Lance's old workplace. He told me that Lance was not good at his job at all, and that he was scolded severely by his boss every single time. So as if to go against his own boss. Lance had submitted a resignation letter and changed jobs. I had never heard that story before, so I was really fed up with Lance. So Lance had just blamed everyone around him for his own lack of ability. That's why he didn't get paid at all at his new job, so I'm glad I left him. I then rented a single-room apartment and lived comfortably by myself. Work is going well too, and I just got a raise the other day. Since I don't want to be in a relationship for a while, I would like to continue to devote myself to my job. I knew that he was the type of man who couldn't do his job at all. Once I found out that he cared a lot about how he looked, he could only maintain his dignity at home and nowhere else. I would think that rather than devoting all his energy to how he looks, he should use it to improve his ability for his work. Still, there are so many scummen husbands who think that divorce papers can be used as a threat. They think that they are all that. But that's a huge mistake. I wish that these people would get immediately divorced and move on to a life of loneliness. At any rate, I'm glad that Alice was able to break off their relationship. I hope that Alice would meet someone wonderful in the future.